1979 Schwinn Collegiate Tourist from last season is all done, with one small exception. Of course, if you followed that season, we had the 3-speed shifter down to the 3-speed hub with the coaster brake. However, Bill from the Schwinn Honey Hole was here while I was finishing up this bike, and I noticed that the rear hub would not fit into the dropouts. It was too large. The dropouts were pushed in too far. So I had done a process that's called cold forging maybe. Look up RJ the bike guy. He has a good explanation of it, how to do it. But it's when you need to widen out the chainstays. He asked me why I was doing it, and I explained that that hub wouldn't fit in there. And he said, well, how far was the hub apart? How far was the dropouts apart? I said 117 millimeters. He said, well, that means it was just a coaster brake. It wasn't a 3-speed coaster brake. And I said, well, that bike didn't come with just a coaster brake. And he said, are you sure? So I pulled out the spec sheet that we had referenced earlier in the season. And I said, see, we know it's a girl's frame. We know it's 17-inch, and it's not a 5-speed front freewheel system because the chain ring was on it, and it was not a type for a front freewheel system. So the only other 17-inch was a 3-speed coaster. And then I looked down and saw that there was a 17-inch just coaster brake. So we put that bike together incorrect. What I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna do this as part of the channel, but before I put this bike up for sale, I am gonna put it the right way. I'm gonna take that rear wheel apart, put a coaster brake on it that's from the mid to late 70s era for Schwinn, and then I can use the 3-speed hub and everything I did for that with the cable and the shifter on another project that I think I can have upcoming in a future season. So anyway, that's all from last season, and that means it's time for a new season, a new project. That's what's happening on this episode of Featherstone Bicycles. So our project for season 13 is a 1971 Schwinn Manta-Ray. A bit of a unicorn. And I say it's a unicorn because Schwinn only made these for the model year 71 and 72. And this bike was made at the Schwinn factory in Chicago in January of 71. So it's a very early Manta-Ray. It's a 24-inch bike. I don't know, I looked up in the Green Phantom reference book about this model. It doesn't really say much about why it was a limited production, but it is very collectible. This is another bike from the bike shop in Peru that my friend Mike, who the owner there, let me have to restore and then put on display in the shop. So let's do a little walk around. It's got a nice seat. One of the things about the Manta-Ray seat was that it bowed out, bowed out there. And there's a little bit of a crack here, not bad. The badging is a little torn up, but we can bend that back. It is in pretty rough shape. It is mostly all there. Obviously, it doesn't have a front tire, and it doesn't have the right rear tire. That should be a 24-inch slick. That was a thin slick, as you can tell by the width of the fender. There's a little sort of humorous story about that, which I will get to in a second. But it's in really rough shape. It's really rusty, really dusty, and it's going to take a lot of work. I'm not even sure about some of the chrome, like here on the handlebars, seems to already be, the rust seems to already have eaten through the chrome. So we'll see how that turns out. It's a 5-speed on the crossbar shifter, and that comes down to the derailleur there, which has a kind of a protector on it. I don't know if that's an original Schwinn accessory or not. The sissy bar is bent, but Mike was going to be able to try to fix that with a hydraulic press. Let's see what else we have here. It's a very interesting modification here for the front brake cable. Instead of just going out and getting a new cable, they made a loop with the cable and then tied a piece of string around. I'm not sure about the safety of that modification. Anyway, that's the bike. It's a great little project for us to do for the channel, and we're going to get into it. But before we do, I will tell you the story about the slick. The slick is a little bit hard to find. However, at the Schwinn Honey Hole, we had one, and it was not any old 24-inch S5 rim slick. It was new old stock. It had never been used. And that thing kicked around and kicked around. Bill said that he wanted to keep it. And when I picked this up, I asked him if I could have it, and he can't find it. So we can't remember whether we sold it to somebody when we were, closing up the shop or what. But in any event, there are other used ones out there, so I'm going to try to pick one of those up because I would like it to be original. break for a few minutes here to tell you about something while I'm getting that last screw for the shifter soaked in. I realized when I was moving it back and forth, and I took the cover off, that actually you can get at the other side of the screw with some WD-40, so I'm letting that soak in. But what I wanted to tell you was about spokes. So if you saw the Schwinn honey hole episode and subsequent episodes after that, you'll know that I got a lot of spokes out of the Schwinn honey hole. And those are all the boxes. I had them on this wooden shelving unit, which is from IKEA years ago. And I had them all by sizes. So 11 inches, 10 inches, 9, 7, 6, 5, etc. And you might recall from a couple episodes ago, including last season, I was trying to find those kickstands again over here from all the Schwinn honey hole parts. And I was, for some reason, thinking they were down in one of these boxes. And this box with the handlebars, I was trying to get out of here, and this part kept on getting caught over here. And one thing led to another, and my elbow hit this wooden shelving unit. Now these shelves are only put in with these lag bolts. And so when you only have one unit, the whole thing tends to want to scissor. And you guessed it, I started to hear a creaking. I looked over and the whole thing was going that way. And there was nothing I could do at that point. Fell on the floor. The whole thing was accordioned on itself. And almost all the spokes came out of the boxes and were spread all over the floor. I couldn't believe it. But it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because ever since the Schwinn honey hole episode, I had wanted to reorganize the spokes because there were a lot of the same sizes from different manufacturers and different boxes. And it was kind of a pain in the butt to go through and find them, which ones I was looking for. And those are only half the spokes. I also have, you don't even see it down here, but you can see those spokes there, but that white box, and then there's an orange tray, metal tray under there. That's all full of spokes too. Now, I don't know if those are all new old stock. The ones in the boxes were new old stock. So what I wanted to utilize this cabinet, which you may recall I had just the spoke nipples in there that I had gotten, which were like many, many spoke nipples. And it was originally built as a spoke cabinet. So I took the time to pick up all those spokes off the floor, get them all out of the boxes that hadn't, spilled out of the boxes, measured them all, got them into sizes, bought these little label holders, these metal things, and then printed out labels for them. And so now I have basically a nice organized system of all of my spokes. And so I had to utilize this drawer. So I took all the spoke nipples out and organized those into the 3 main sizes and got those up there. There's also some that are still in packages. There were some Indian spokes that still had the nipples in the boxes, so I kept all that on the separate. Anything that was in a package, I kept in a package, but the 3 sizes I organized here. So that took a while. And while I was at it, I decided to fill up these drawers and put some labels on there. And that was all generated by the fact that I finally started getting things out of boxes from the Schwinn honey hole and getting them into shelf bins. I was looking at shelf bins for a while because I thought that would be the best way to organize the parts. But, and I was looking at Uline, which wasn't bad for all the shelf bins that I wanted. It was like $55, $60, but they wanted $50 for shipping, which I thought was ridiculous. And then Mike up at the bike store told me that they sell these 12-inch by 8-inch by 6-inch shelf bins at Harbor Freight for $4 a piece, $3.99. So I bought 12 of those to start, and I'm going to need probably about 10 or 12 more. Some things are not going to fit in shelf bins easily, like the cable housings up there on the left. But guess what? I did get the kickstands in there. Did finally find those, so I won't have any trouble getting those again. These are all brake calipers and brake levers, so I'm going to have to break that into 2 pieces. But anyway, ultimately, from the Schwinn honey hull, all of this will be separated into parts, which I will be using because I'm going to have at least 1 more, if not 2 more, Build a Schwinn episodes. I keep on calling them episodes. Seasons after we get through with the Manta-Ray. There is all of our parts. Actually, that chain guard is in pretty good shape. Decal looks very good. Here's our wheels and our seat. The way that seat bows out really didn't fit on the part shelf. And here's the naked frame. The decals here, you can see the edges of them are kind of faded. So that's not going to show up very well once we rejuvenate the paint, but it is what it is. I tried to get the head badge off, but couldn't get the little screwdriver in there. These are very rusted. I put some WD-40 behind it, but I need a tiny little cutoff wheel for my Dremel to redo the slots on the screwdriver. So on the screws, I should say. So I don't know if I'll get to that or not. I've left them on before. It'll be fine. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks very much for sticking with me, and I hope to see you next time on Featherstone Bicycles.